Welcome to Leadership Live. This is going to be a three-part series, as you all know. The purpose of this series is to bring leaders in our community together who have a concern or a sharing about a certain topic. And then this topic is the war on poverty.
And as we celebrate the ending of our fiscal year coming up in about a month, we fully expect that over the last 4 years, we're probably going to see somewhere in the neighborhood of $50 million of new contribution revenue that's been generated by the community to help us address these problems in the community.
These issues are what we call messy, complex systems. And if you know me at all, it only takes me about 30 seconds to bring up messy, complex systems in a conversation. Really, the priorities that are highlighted in this wonderful Community Impact Report by ACF have two things in common. The first is the status quo is unacceptable. We want to bring positive change to the priorities that are identified in this report. And the second is that they involve complex, messy systems. What is a complex, messy system? These are the systems that have multiple stakeholders. As Jon said, lots of nonprofits, government, funders, others involved. Lots of different stakeholders who operate independent of each other, but they also interact with each other. So that independence means there's an absence of control. And the absence of control means no single entity can control the outcomes within these systems. The three messy systems that we care most about at the fund are job creation, job access, and job preparation. The fund itself is a collaboration of funders in Northeast Ohio. Our members in Summit County include the Community Foundation, GAR, First Energy, SUMA, and Burton D. Morgan Foundation.
So we share a few important goals together in this collaborative as it's emerging. Number one, create good jobs. Number two, prepare the workforce for the jobs of today and the ones that are emerging into the future. And finally, just as important, promoting access to those jobs for all the people here in Summit County, growth and opportunity.
Right now, what is being focused on is driving our placement and training decisions by sector-based opportunities, and skill-based hiring fits right into that. Also, another point to think about is with Summit County unemployment rates right now hovering around 5%, being recognized for the skills that someone has gained, I think, is going to give a leg up to individuals that are seeking employment and allow the very competitive nature that this is creating in the marketplace, allow the employers to have the opportunity to look at people from a different perspective. So it just makes sense, Sue.
I think Christine really nailed it on the head as a recruiter for the last 12 years. I've sat in front of candidates and thought, can they do the job? Can they not do the job? My gut tells me, okay. My gut tells me, no. There's never been a real straightforward way to say, yes, this person is a good fit or match for my position. There's not been a great way to say longevity in this role is, or this candidate's going to be in this role for a long period of time. So to actually have a scientific way to say this candidate could potentially stay, it could potentially be a good match, and there's some strength behind that, is really exciting.
Speaking from the education perspective, it's a really good thing to be able to connect students and graduates through a skills-based assessment with jobs that exist. And we do that anyway in the community college because so many of our programs are developed through close collaboration with business. So we use a system of advisory committees, individuals from business and industry who help us develop the curriculum. They end up employing our graduates, and then we get feedback on a regular basis from those businesses in terms of how the graduates perform, what's changing in the industry, and what we need to do. But I think Work Keys and a skills-based hiring system takes that to a very formal level and makes that available to all employers. I can tell you the number one request right now, and I check with our career services department on a regular basis, is industrial maintenance. People who can fix the equipment in plants. That's the number one need, hands down. And that's probably the number one need across the region and across the state right now, and probably the nation. It's a pretty high demand job nationally.
I think one of the challenges that we're facing in particular with manufacturing, it's what you just said, Dr. Jones, that it's a much more skilled type of work than people are still picturing when we hear manufacturing. We're still hanging on to the rubber companies of yesteryear a little bit. In terms of that's what a manufacturing facility must look like when you walk into it. It must be dirty, it must be those things. And I got out of my comfort zone by actually going into some of these manufacturing facilities and walking around and just being blown away by the capabilities to have to operate machinery that's all computer generated. So there's definitely, I think that's the challenge, is trying to let the workforce know that it isn't those things, and let the parents know too of the youth, that it isn't the job that your father had or the job that your grandfather had, that this is a very viable, livable wage too. And the challenge also though is a lot of the manufacturers don't know how to sell themselves. And I think that's what we're trying to do on the workforce development side, is work with manufacturers by saying, let us look at your job descriptions. And when we do, honestly, this is no slight against employers, but some of them are 25 or more years old. And the things that are on those job descriptions, when you're trying to do a really viable posting into the Ohio Meets job system, it doesn't match the new equipment that they've purchased. And so if I can just put a plug in for the Ohio Meets Job Center, one of the things that we're trying to do is get the word out to employers that we can be your HR. So those smaller businesses is really what we're targeting, your smaller manufacturers. And we're also trying to make sure that we provide them assistance through on-the-job training grants so that they can invest in a person and bring them along. Because we have found that some of the schooling, where we used to just send people to training ad nauseum for many years, didn't leave the person with the skills that they needed. So